Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. This is Umar Khalid. But today is the 27th of November 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with Pakistan's economy that has resurfaced, rebounded after the protest, let's put it that way, that happened yesterday and the day before yesterday, and due to which we had seen a crash as far as Pakistan's KSE index is concerned, and that rebounded once this protest ended. We kind of try to understand the politics of agitation and how linked they are with the country's economy and progress in the economic sector. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Middle East situation. Today is day 416 of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Some good news that has come from the Lebanese side, where the Hezbollah-Israel ceasefire has taken place, and of course there are different modalities on that. But on the other hand, Joe Biden also says that he will also move towards a ceasefire as far as Palestine and Israel is concerned. We all remember his 3-point ceasefire agenda that never materialized, but let's hope for the very best. Third story today will be on social media and how the AI is fueling the worst human impulses. That has been stated by none other than the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, who says that uncontrolled social media networks and artificial intelligence have amplified the worst human impulses, allowing hate speech to spread like wildfire and ignite violence. We've seen an example of that in our country as well. Finally, we'll be talking about the COP29 president who has blamed the rich nations, ladies and gentlemen, for imperfect deal. The Azerbaijan leadership has admitted that seeking to blame richer countries for an outcome that has been slammed by poor nations is insulting. It has also seen, we have seen what happened as in the deal after COP29, $300 billion pledged per year to help the developing countries reduce emissions and prepare for the disastrous impacts of climate change. But the Azerbaijan leadership says this is not enough. Let's begin with our today's newsroom, and we'll begin with, of course, economy, agitation, and how they are more or less interrelated because of this economic situation, specifically in countries such as Pakistan. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Both are in the studios for a change. On the right, we've been joined by Aniq Zafar, who's a political analyst. Aniq Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. And then Naeem Siddiqi Saab, he's a political economist, joins us in our show for the very first time. Siddiqi Saab, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to interact with you this very first time. Let's begin with Aniq. Aniq Saab, shares at the Pakistan Stock Exchange bounced back on today, and it bounced back on more or less the same format as it had crashed yesterday. How do you view this stability, at least from the KSE point of view, and how is it or is it not related to political stability in Pakistan?
Well, it is very much related to political instability in Pakistan, but going back to the question of KSE 100 index first, obviously it is very heartening that it is now looking to breach 100,000 one of these days. When such psychological barriers are reached by stock exchange, by different indexes, there is always a possibility that there may be some correction. So, the fall the day before was a mix of different factors. One factor, of course, was correction, which is a market phenomenon, but a larger factor was the worry that this protest, which was being held by one political party, which was threatening to besiege the capital, which was threatening to force the government to accept its demands, may linger on, may create some instability for the government. The investor, particularly the retail investor, is very jittery in such circumstances and exits the market quickly to reevaluate position. That was a major factor. Today's rebound is in fact a resounding token of confidence in the ability of the government and the state that it can establish its rate. One of the major reasons we are sliding down rapidly on many indices of political stability and law and order and all that, is that state had been receding a lot of space to different actors which were pushing it from all sides. Sometimes you are engaging Taliban, sometimes you are engaging traders, sometimes you are engaging lawyers and conceding to their demands. So this pushback by the state, I think, has had a very positive impact on the sentiment of the investors.
All right. Coming back to you, Siddiqi Saab, the stock market has been on a record spree in the last few weeks, but we'll come to that. Before that, I'd like to understand, should retail investors, because of course this is also related to that, look beyond short-term fluctuations as we've seen recently and focus on long-term investment strategies, understanding that they could be purchasing shares in well-established Pakistani companies, and there are many as far as our country is concerned, with a track record of gradually growing earnings as well as payouts? Or do you feel that this is a market that's going to remain fluctuating, looking at the political situation in the country and how it changes as well?
Thank you very much, Professor, for inviting me in your show. The Pakistan stock market demonstrated remarkable resilience and vibrancy today, with a 4,695 surge in the index. And this exceptional performance reflects growing investors' confidence and a positive sentiment in the market. You see, the stock market is very sensitive. It anticipates with any movement, either politically or economically. It moves on the both sides. And if you see on that yesterday, the market was anticipating that might be there is some fear and play there was something in between. Though it was in a very short area, it was not into the whole country. So, but I think the market, maybe it is overreacted, and as Aniq said, it has taken some correction. Because we have seen the market growing 66% during the last 6 months. And this is the second fastest growing market in the world after Argentina. So, if you see that still there is a lot of room for our market to grow, because out of 1,000 we have only 2.2 people investing in the market as compared to our neighboring countries. Like India, we have about 17.8%, and in Sri Lanka we have about 27% per thousand. So in the Bangladesh, definitely there is no doubt in it that one should invest in the long-term investor. Always when you see a lot of here cry in the market, it's only because of the day trading. You know, whenever you see that some share is going down, everybody starts selling it. So in that position, you lose intraday a lot in the market. So that is the main reason you see. But definitely, if the small investor, not the big investor, I'm talking about the small, even the small investor, if they invest in the stock market like a property and can hold it for 5 to 10 years, I assure you that nobody will lose. Only the loss when you see, that is only because of this quick intraday market, people coming with the short money and then think that they can earn more money in it, and it is one a blue moon chance that you got it. I have done my brokerage for about 10 years, and I have never seen anybody who is making money in the first night.
So you always need to be patient.
Now,
on
the other side, there are the indicators. For example, nowadays you see that Pakistan economy is having some healthy indicators due to the certain factors which the government has taken, and first of all is your markup. You know, that has came down from 22 to 15%.
True.
Okay, and there are lot of other factors like cement export has gone surge about 49%. And then the inflation then declined from 39 to 7.2%. So this is also in the international conferences. You know, the stock market is a heaven for the international investor. Only if we can control the currency rate for 6 months to 1 year, I assure you that today, if we have a contribution of about 20% of the international investor and 80% of the local investor, it can reverse.
All right. That's a
It
very
can
important
reverse.
point that you say stock market is a heaven for investors, but you also talk of fear and play.
Yeah.
But Aniq, fear and play is also a strategy that a certain political party has been using to the detriment of Pakistan, Pakistan's economy and Pakistani people's lives. I'd like to refer to a recent comment by our Minister for Information, Mr. Tara, who says that no firing was carried out on protesters of that political party. There were no fatalities among them, and that the party is resorting to baseless propaganda to avoid embarrassment. He also talks about the damage to the public property that has happened. He also said that this party makes big claims and flees the protest site, which is more or less their hallmark. Why is a certain political party going forward with politics of agitation when they should be moving together with all other stakeholders to reconstruct the country on a bigger, stronger platform?
I think we can refer to that party's building blocks. So the building blocks of the party are negation of others' rights, hatred, anger, right, and some illusionary, non-tangible dreams. So these are the building blocks. So based on those building blocks, they are the party leadership and a lot of their supporters and workers are in some kind of an illusion. They look at others as if others are all of others who support other political parties are either corrupt or compromised or they do not understand anything, they are illiterate, they are uneducated, blah blah blah, so many other things. So when they build this scenario, they think that once they will come out, there will be hundreds and thousands of people and they will change everything. Like when they came into power, they thought they will change everything overnight, but they could not do anything because they did not know how to govern. Similarly, in the realm of politics, they are thinking that only the street matters. That's where they are failing. Once the elections are held, there are other forums where you coordinate, you strategize, you cooperate, and then move forward towards the agenda. If you think that you can only do this by being on the street, by creating chaos, by trying to pressure the government and the state institutions, then this does not work for long. You have to face your comeuppance one day. So perhaps yesterday was their comeuppance, where they lost total control of the narrative, lost total control of the situation, because they did not know what to do, because they were not thinking politically, they were not thinking strategically. They had one illusory objective that we will reach D-chalk and then everything will change. No, it will not change, because there are no change mechanisms installed at the D-chalk. Right?
Of course. But that is how they play politics.
That's what their politics is. So until unless they are able to understand that politics is a process, and there are multiple platforms you have to engage your opponents, your other stakeholders, and try to find a way forward. Not by bringing everything on the street. They are not going to get anywhere if they continue on that path.
Well, I mean, that is an unfortunate decision taken by a political party wherein it could have done so much working with other stakeholders and working towards the country and the economic stability of the country. Anyways, Siddiqi Sahab, let's talk about economic stability and the stock market that has seen a lot of highs at this recent low, of course, because of this agitation, but we've seen a lot of highs as far as the KSE index is concerned. Then of course the reduction in the basis points also that happened. How do you see this decline in inflation, low currency account deficit, higher remittances further adding towards the strengthening of our economy?
Yeah, definitely. These the measures you are talking about are going to be the backbone for the economy of the country. Particularly, we have only one major problem, that is our twin deficit. One is our trade deficit, which because basically we are consumption based economy and our inflation increases and our GDP also increases with the inflation unfortunately, because when we consume a lot, automatically there is a lot of business activity. For example, we are standing at about 92% to the GDP in the consumption level, and which is very high. So what we need to take measure is this, that how we can control. For our trade deficit, we have to see what are the essential items we should import and how we can make the value addition.
All right.
We are lacking in this area a lot.
All right.
For example, we do import lot of raw material, a lot of chemicals for our textile sector, but we don't make that value addition which is required. For example, at the moment we are standing about $16 billion of the textile export, but if you work back, more than $4 billion is the material which we are importing to export our products. So there we have to look at very cautiously and see how, for good governance, law and order, customer confidence. You know, the international market is very sensitive. If they see any political turmoil, any unrest in the country, you know, the media is playing a big role in this case. So we don't have a lot of problem. For example, yesterday you saw there was a very hue and cry that this will happen and this will happen, and then the whole city was a terroristan, you know. Every, from my home, I live very near to my office in F sector, and I saw 12 containers on the way from my home to 3 kilometers my office. So if we can have the confidence of the international buyer and we go into the international market, and particularly when you see the political stability, it is directly proportional with the economic stability, and then what we need to do is economic diplomacy. That is very important. We are lacking about more than 70% world where we have no approach of our products to be introduced.
But I think, for example, the president of Belarus, who was here with his 68-member delegation, was in the step in that direction that you just mentioned.
Before that, we have Saudi Arabian delegation over, that is very big delegates, and we have signed a lot of agreement about 2.2 billion investment is coming. Then there's the recruiting investment, then there's the refinery investment. You see, you have to go and sell yourself. That is very important. If you will not do it, you cannot get the business. You should be, the whole country should concentrate, because that dollar is the only solution. I tell you one thing very clearly. We have reached up to $36 billion from the expats. We will be expecting about $36 billion, but we need to have more than $60 billion export. So we should have a combination of $100 billion to address our trade deficit and then our fiscal deficit. We have a lot of problem, and you know, IMF, before when IMF used to come, they said that you increase your revenue. This is the first time they are emphasizing to control your expenditures, and this is very important. The both sides have to be balanced. In the balance sheet, if your income and your expenditures are controlled, then ultimately you will not go into red. So that is the area which we unitedly have to see the government.
You know, the fact is, with due respect, Siddiqi Saab, you can be united if all the factions want to remain united, and therein comes this political instability caused by certain factions.
That is the main core. Okay. The political instability affects a lot of your international market. Because, for example, I am telling you,
the image, what kind of image do you give through such maneuvers?
We have a potential of exporting more than $30 billion only in the IT market. This is a huge, and this is the only market where you don't have to travel. It is all your non-tangible, it is your intellect investment. You see how much intellect you have in this country, and if you provide them the proper infrastructure, software technology parks and the proper trainings, you can see the whole world is yours. For example, the Belarus people came here, you know, Belarus is very strong in their IT. Their programmers are famous all over the world. They are very strong in agriculture. They are very strong in other industries. So why we can't have a joint venture? Joint ventures in terms of having them invested in our country.
I think that was a step in the right direction.
Yes.
This visit is a step in the right direction. We'll be seeing a lot of that happening in the days to come. Aniq Saab, I have to come to you. something that Siddiqi Sahab mentioned, and that was political stability equals economic stability and vice versa. But when you look at, what has happened in the last few days, and not the first time that something like that has happened, it is it is a manner of functioning of this certain political party that is to create instability and to try to create a phenomenon or a narrative that the only this political party can ultimately create stability in Pakistan. Then the recent revelations of Afghans being utilized by the government machinery of a provincial government used this time as well. And of course, the firing that has happened from their side, but they claim that it is our forces that have fired on them and have so-called killed a certain number of their people, which of course has been denied by the authorities. What needs to be the government strategy from now onwards in order for issues such as these not to emerge, or if they emerge, do not come to us beyond a certain level?
Frankly, it is a very tricky question. Governments normally do not want to raise temperature on the street. Governments normally want to engage with the opposition political parties and try to accommodate their demands and all that. But the problem here right now is that that particular party we are talking about has a very, very maximalist, extremist list of demands, right?
Agreed.
And those demands actually mean that you just pack up and go home, everyone from Chief Justice to the Prime Minister to some other office holders in the scheme of things, and they just should pack up and go home because someone wants to rule this country. That's now how it is done. But still, I would like to advise and communicate to the government that they should try and engage and try to instill some sense in that party's leadership, that barring one or two people who want to, or a lot of people that influence that party's leadership through social media, many of them sitting outside this country, creating scenarios and creating false narratives and hopes.
That's a very important point that you say is on the political agitation by a political party, and of course the repercussions of that and how that has affected Pakistan's economy and how Pakistan had been moving in the right direction till this agitation happened. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.